Good afternoon to everyone and welcome to this webinar on the clerical aspect of our new version of MYLE. My name is Maxime No and I'm the director of the Data Analytics Division, and it will be my pleasure this evening to give you a guided tour of our new version of MYLE. So the agenda for this webinar, first of all, a few words to tell you how it works and how you can ask questions at the end of this webinar. After that, I'm accompanied today by Patrick Isid, who is the Chief of Technology at MEDFAR Clicial Solutions, as well as the co-founder. So he's going to give you a few words about the high-level new features of that new version of MYLE. After that, we'll give you a guided tour of the new version, and we will keep some time to answer your questions at the end of this period of time. So how this webinar works. First of all, the objective of this webinar are really to show you the new features of that new version of MYLE, and as well as describing you the main differences between the actual version that you are used to use on a daily basis and that new version. This webinar will be of a total duration of 60 minutes. I will take about 40 to 45 minutes to give you the whole presentation, and we'll keep 15 to 20 minutes at the end, as I said, to answer your questions. So make sure you use the questions section if you want to share your comments or sections with us. How you can do that now is I will invite you to look on the right side of your screen, where you should look for an orange arrow like this. By clicking on this arrow, a small window will expand. After that, you can click on the questions section, and you will have there a text box in which you'll be able to type your questions. Now, important questions: will this webinar be recorded? Yes, it will. So a clerical as well as a medical session will be made available to all of you. We will notify you in the coming days on how to access those recorded webinars. Aside from that, where you can find more information, well, if you visit our website support.medfarsolutions.com, you will be able to read a letter from the founders, Elias Farah, our CEO, as well as Patrick Isid, our Chief of Technology and Vice President. Also, if you have comments on this webinar, or if some questions were missed in today's session, please send us comments at this email, so info@medfarsolutions.com. Finally, a few words to tell you that we will still be giving 4 webinars a day until April the 8th, so you're welcome to join other webinars as well. So now, I'll gladly welcome Patrick Isid in this webinar, who will give you a first introduction on this new version of MYLE.
All right, thank you very much, Max. It's my great pleasure to be able to present to you today this new version of MYLE, which is a version that we've been working on for the past 18 months or so. I'm going to give you a brief overview of what's new and how it distinguishes itself from its predecessors. The first thing that I want to tell you is that this version of MYLE is built on a brand new technology. So finally, we're getting rid of Silverlight and all the headaches that are related to it. So for those of you who don't know what Silverlight is, I think you should count yourselves lucky, but I think it's also important that I give you a brief topology of what Silverlight and why we used it. So Silverlight came about when Elias and I decided to found this company in 2010, and one of the things that we wanted to do was unequivocally build an EMR solution that was built on the web, so that could be accessible from anywhere, from whatever platform, either from the clinic, from home, from the country house, from on vacation, wherever. That was something that was very important to us to usher in the web era to the electronic medical record sector. Back then, the only technology that was available for us to do that was Silverlight, which is not a MEDFAR developed technology. It is a Microsoft developed technology that gained a lot of traction early on, but then subsequently around 2015 and 2016 started to be sort of a let go by the major web browsers. So Google Chrome stopped supporting Silverlight towards the end of 2015, and then Firefox by the mid of 2016, towards the end of 2016, stopped progressively supported less and less Silverlight, which explains, by the way, all the crashes and the bugs and the slowness that some of you are experiencing with the current version of MYLE. So our first goal with this version was really to get rid of that, to make sure that we had a version of MYLE that at least was stable and reliable, so that we could actually get some work done. We are also bringing compatibility with mobile devices with this new version of MYLE. So it was important for us to not be tied to one browser in specific. So we'll be compatible with either Firefox or Chrome or Internet Explorer, Safari, what have you. That was important, but also on the mobile browsers as well. So if you own an iPad or any other iOS device or an Android tablet, it's something that you will be able to use to access MYLE. I will say, however, that we recommend a minimum resolution of 1440 by 900, which is the equivalent of a third generation iPad. So if you bought your iPad or your tablet towards the end of, or towards, sorry, the beginning of 2014, you should have enough resolution to be able to use MYLE with enough screen real estate to be able to see and view the information that we have to present to you in a way that makes it usable. This version of MYLE also, you will notice when Max will start giving you the tour, that it's a lot faster. So depending on the module and the size of your clinics or things like that, you will see that is up to 16 times faster. So this is the benchmark that we've developed here in-house in a controlled environment. So with the same internet, the same equipment, the same database, we see up to 16 times faster response times, which I think is something you'll be able to appreciate a lot. It will make you much more efficient and will make, I think, work much more enjoyable. It is also a technology that allows MYLE to become a lot more stable, a lot more robust, and a lot more reliable. As I said earlier, this new technology does not require the use of any plugin whatsoever, and this makes it such that really its stability, its robustness, and reliability is something that we can control, and it's something that we are very proud to say is at the forefront of our EMR. It is also, and this last point is a very important point, MYLE is also becoming a platform that we can easily extend and use to interoperate with other applications. So what I mean by that is this new technology allows us to be much more nimble in answering your requirements, your suggestions, if there are any bugs that we need to fix or things like that. Really, this technology is something that allows us to operate a lot faster, build with more quality, and build and put that product to market a lot quicker. In terms of interoperability, the goal here is to make it such that MYLE does not simply stay in EMR, but can really integrate with other platforms or other products that we are developing and that we are going to be putting to market in the next upcoming months. So what are these products? They are as follows. You can see here that we have 5 products that will be going live all before the end of this year, and I think it's going to be more towards the end of the summer even that some of you will be able to benefit from these new products. So the first one is online booking and appointment confirmation, which means that your patients will be able to book their appointments and receive confirmation for the appointments directly online. Of course, this will make it a lot easier to manage appointments and will make the patients a lot more independent in that regard. We're also developing an information exchange platform between doctors that would allow doctors that need to send either a summary of the file or a form that they filled, or even if it's like an insurance plan that they need to fill and send to the insurance company, they'll be able to fill all of that through MYLE and then send it electronically in a safe, secure manner that also respects the patient's confidentiality. The third product that I'm very excited to tell you is already being piloted by one of our clinics as we speak is the patient portal. So the main goal of the patient portal is to give and empower the patient to take part in their healthcare. So one of the things that they'll be able to do, of course, is to book appointments and receive confirmation for these appointments online. But the patient portal is more than that. It's also a communication platform between the clinic and the patient. So it will allow unidirectional communication between the doctors, the staff, the admin staff as well, and the patient, so that you can send the patient a little message asking them to please book an appointment through the portal, or if you have a form you want to share with the patient, you can do that directly through the portal without having to call the patient and then solicit them to present at the clinic and then manage their arrival, etc. So I think this is something that we're very excited about and should really change the landscape of how healthcare is dispensed. Then we'll go to the web fax, which is something that will allow all the users through MYLE to be able to send faxes, either prescriptions, requests, consultation requests, or even forms, summaries of the medical file, or any document that is generated through MYLE. Well, you'll be able to send that by fax without having to install anything on your computer and without the clinic having to buy any new equipment to make sure that it's compatible with the web fax. So if you are working on your iPad and there's something that you want to send from your iPad fax, you'll be able to do that without having to install anything beforehand. The last point I want to talk to you about is something that's very close to Maxim's heart. It's business intelligence, reporting, and statistics. So what that is of course, as you know, MYLE is a platform that generates a lot of information, and it's very rich information. You have information regarding the patient's appointments, their arrival times, their were they present or absent. You also have a list of their diagnoses, their allergies, their medications, anything that you've billed for. So all this information is held in our databases, and we've developed a tool that will allow you to exploit that information, present dashboards to better view that information, view a list of patients that are registered under a certain doctor's name, for example, or a list of patients who present this diagnosis but have not shown in the past 6 months, or all the other reports that you need to build and to send for the GMF program. You'll be able to do those independently through this module. You'll also be able to build your own dashboards and build your own reports. And you'll also benefit from some of the reports that Max and his team have developed to enhance quality of care, reconciliate between vulnerable patients at the RAM queue and patients who should present a vulnerability code in the clinic. So this is a tool that we're very excited to bring to the market, and I'm sure eventually you will have the opportunity to listen to Max and his team as they explain to you and they walk you through that process. So without further ado, I'll pass the ball back to Max, and I wish you good exploration on this newest version of MYLE.
Thanks a lot, Patrick, for this great introduction and your participation in this webinar. Now, let's discover this new version of MYLE, and for that, I will reach our login page of this new version. So, first of all, what you can see is that this login page is divided now in 2 sections. On the left is a section with which you'll be familiar with, so it's the same username and password that you need to use if you want to access your current environment in the new version of MYLE. By the way, that you can access by going into your actual version of MYLE, and under the logo in the middle of the page, click on the word "Try the new MYLE." So this is the section on the left. On the right now, a new section that we added because we know how communication is important with our users, and we know that in the past it has not been always maybe to your expectations, so we want to use that new section on the right side to communicate with you. Communicate what? Well, first of all, here you can find the letter of the founders that we introduced at the beginning of this webinar. You can also register to the other webinars at that page, and in the future to any other webinars that we would organize. Also, when we will be deploying new versions, you will be able to discover the content of those new versions in that login page, as well as their deployment date. Finally, when we will be organizing events of some sort, you will be able to join them through this login page. So without further ado, I'm going to connect to my session. And I will invite you to notice the speed at which I will log into this new environment of MYLE. So it's already there, and my sentence is not finished. So you can see what Patrick said. This new technology is really faster, more robust, and stable. Great advantages there. So first thing we see when we log into MYLE actually is that we can observe that it's the same layout as the actual versions. Essentially, that when we log in, we see the different calendars that I had picked for my session and saved. So in the center portion, as well as in the top banner is still where I can find the different modules of MYLE, namely the communication module, the documents module, results and lists. I will have also on my left the search tool for patient charts that I will talk a bit in a few minutes. So before I start the topics for today, so first of all, I'm going to give you a bit of discovery of this calendar first. Then we'll go and open the patient charts, and we'll go and see in that patient chart what is new in the different tabs before concluding that tour by discovering some of the modules at the top, namely the communication module and the document module. But first of all, our calendar, because in that module has been added a lot of new functionalities and great additions. So first of all, what has changed is if we go and look in the top corner right, you will notice an happy face emoji. MYLE has been evolving a lot over the past year and past years, I would say, because of your comments, because of your suggestions and ideas about how MYLE should be designed. And we wanted to keep that new philosophy in our new version of MYLE. So by clicking on that emoji, you will be able to share with us comments. So you can first of all pick a type of face, let's say if you're unhappy with something in MYLE, and you will be able to share your idea or ideas with us, and you can do that by pressing on send. Doing so, you will share your comments with our development team, and that list is reviewed on a daily basis, so you can make sure that your comments are heard. So this was a new addition to that version. Second, maybe you can observe there's a red line in the middle of my screen. It's that when you log in into MYLE, we will always, and also when you navigate through modules and come back to the calendar, we will always show you that calendar at the actual time. So it means no more scrolling up and down. So always showing that calendar at the actual time. Again, what is new? It's the navigation of a calendar. So in my case, I will go and pick the calendar of only one doctor. So that doesn't change. I will go in the top corner right, open the settings menu, and that hasn't changed much. So it's still where you can select the calendars of other clinicians, as well as defining what information you want to be shown in the different appointment bubbles. So in my case, I will go there just to keep, just for ease, keep one calendar only of Dr. Baudry. So I was talking about navigation through the schedule of one doctor. So first of all, you don't need to go click on some icon in the top right to access a calendar. This calendar is always shown on the bottom left corner. So it's always accessible. So by a simple click on a date, you're navigating, actually moving to that date. You can also, if you prefer, use the text box there and just type the date you want to reach, press enter, and now you're on the 13th. Finally, there's still that today button that you can click on, and you're back to Thursday, March the 30th. Of course, we still have those arrows at the top, so to change from 1 day or 1 week or 1 month in the past or future. And also we have the same 3 views as before. But the day and week view has not changed much, but a lot of effort has been put on improving the month view. So what is new in that month view is that instead of showing, if you remember in the actual versions, the detail of all the appointments, now we are showing the days with 3 different colors. So you will see for one clinician that when the day is white, it is because the clinician is not working at the clinic, so he doesn't have any available appointments nor actual appointments. When the day is pink, with a black number, it means that that day is completely filled with patient appointments. So, and there's no longer availabilities. Whereas for a blue day, it means you will see 2 things. You will see that there's 17 appointments that were booked, but also there's still 2 available appointments. So blue means there's still room to add patients to the day. So you see that visually you'll be able to quickly understand and find where there's availabilities for a patient. So I will go back to our day view. What else is different? Well, to print a schedule, I know a lot of you are doing that, and it's very useful. So it's no longer at the bottom. There's a printing icon here on which you need to click just to print your usual schedule. Also, a few words on the PA button. PA button, let me first of all click on it to give you a description of what it does. When you click on the PA button, it will make appear a list of all the patients that have an appointment with some clinicians in your clinic. So you will see on the left the time of day, so the patient, and then the patient information and the employee with whom they have an appointment. And essentially the advantage of that is when you want to put those appointments and set them to a waiting room status, then you have easy, like, quick button that you can click on to just change the status of those appointments quickly instead of, and let me close that and go back to our current calendar, instead of going to have in the settings and go and select the different calendars of the clinician. So you see when you have that PA list, you can easily change the status of all your appointments to waiting room as well as printing labels. So this is what's new about that calendar in that new version of MYLE. Now let's go and explore the patient chart. So to reach and open a patient chart, it's the same two methods as before. The first one being to click on the appointment bubble. Doing so, you will see the window with the appointment details. That window has slightly changed in the sense that it's now divided into two sections. On the left are shown the details of the appointments. So you see the patient, the subject of the appointment, sites, date, and duration of the appointment, as well as our drop-down list with different status. So that has not changed. So this is on the left, whereas on the right will always be shown all the identification information of the patient. So the name, the three identifiers that you well know by now, date of birth, enrollment information, upcoming appointments, all the phone numbers, related recalls, obviously the address and email if it's an information that you collect. Now to print a label, it's at the top corner right, as well as you can click on that checkbox at the bottom left if you want to print a label when you save that appointment. But in our case, we just want to open the charts. I will just simply click on the name of the patient in blue. So now, before I go and explore the patient chart, I will just quickly go back to our calendar and talk about the second method to open a chart. So first one was the appointment bubble. The second, you know it well, is the search tool. And that search tool hasn't changed much. It was actually efficient in the old MYLE, and it will be still an efficient tool in this new version. So you can go with, as you know, a few letters of the first name and last name. What has changed is in the event where a patient has the same first name and last name, you can go and click now on that show advanced search results as you could before. But now what has changed is now the physician name, so at the RAM queue, is shown. So sorry about that. I will go back on show advanced search results. So this was being asked, I know, on the field by a lot of you that use MYLE on a daily basis. On the clerical side, that it'd be nice to have that physician name to appear there to better distinguish one patient from another. So this has been added. So I will click at the bottom and hide that bar, and I will go back to our patient chart of, in our case, Antoine Ladouceur. So click on the name. Again, what you can see here is that MYLE, we kept the same philosophy, meaning that you still have on the right the four tabs that you well know by now, as well as on the top the identification banner. So I will go and show you the new functionalities and what is new on each of those tabs. But first of all, let me start with that identification banner. So it is still showing you the name and identification information of your patient. What is new is that we are now showing you all the phone numbers and not only the one that was first on the list. Also, as you will see in a minute, you will be able to set a preferred phone. and that preferred phone will always be on the top. So new thing there. On the right, you will always see again the enrollment information and again the upcoming appointments. As it was in the actual version, the bubble on the right are there to allow you to print label. Also, now we've added a new printing icon there, and now what we want with that new technology is to allow you to quickly, that you will be able in the next weeks and months, we will design that feature such that you're able to quickly print an entire like chart summary or medical summary or list of active medications. So to quickly print summary of information, you will be able to do that on that using that print icon. Also, what is new in that banner, we will go on the left. So in the icon in the shape of the patient, there's a black arrow on which you can click and now send messages and tasks from inside the patient chart. So quickly, if I want to send a message, I just can click on send message. Now choose Patrick Isid and, for instance, say thank you for your participation in this webinar, and press send to send it. So sending communication from the chart in the banner. So that is what is new on the banner. So now let's explore our 4 tabs on the right. First of all, the patient profile, who actually has not changed much. Essentially, what has changed is really in the human factor, or let's say the design. So if you have been using our actual version, you notice that there was a lot of scrolling up and down to go and reach fields like date of birth. So in that new version, there's a improved use of space. So now you have 2 columns, left and right, and you don't need to scroll down anymore to add the socio-demographic information. In terms of the identifiers, well, it hasn't changed much. You will still be informed if the expiry date of the RAMQ card is passed, so you can change it there, and as well as updating our 3 identifiers. If we go into contacts, what has changed here is that, again, a better use of space, first of all, so less scrolling up and down. Aside from that, you still can add and remove addresses by clicking on the add button if you want to add, or the X to remove information. If we look on the right for the phone numbers, you see that I have 2 phone numbers, and let's say I want to change the preferred phone. I just need to click on the check box right here, and you can see that the order of the phone number has changed, as well as they will change on the banner. Let's change now to the clinician tab. No much changes here. It is still the location where you can enter information about the family doctor if that family doctor is not in your clinic but another one, and also any other doctor that are contributing to the chart. And again, we have the list of the doctors in the Collège des Médecins du Québec, so you don't need to fill all the information, but instead you just need to search by name or the license number, and all the information will be added to the chart. Let's go into the other sub-tab. This is where we store the information about the preferred pharmacy. Now, that preferred pharmacy information will now be very important in that new version of MYLE. In the introduction, Patrick talked about the virtual fax technology, meaning that now the clinicians will be able to directly fax prescriptions to pharmacists. When doing so in MYLE, a pharmacy, the preferred pharmacy information will be presented to the clinician. So it will now, you can understand how it will become important to store that information. And like before, you can search by brand, you can search by address or phone number of pharmacy, and by a simple click, that information will be stored in the chart. The rest of the tabs, relationship, enrollment, and DSQ have not changed much. Relationships still allow you to connect charts of the same family members together. The enrollment tab will still show you the enrollment information for that patient, and the DSQ tab will again show you that information related to the DSQ. Before I move to another tab, actually just to remind you that the more efficient way to update the info is still to click on the small icon. So for instance, if I click on the small phone, it will allow me to edit the fields. Now, before I will move to that second tab, which is the scan documents. Now, this patient, Antoine Laboussa, does not have scanned documents in his chart, so I will just quickly go, click on the close button, so to show you that it's the same place. If you want to close the charts, it's in the top corner right, and I will instead open the chart of Jean Lenouet. So if I move up the scale on the scan receive documents tab, so not few features here that were added. First one is to open a document. So before you had to click on the little clip icon on the right. Now a simple click anywhere on the line will open the document. So it's not another tab, but a new window that opens. If you click on another document, you will show it will use the same window to show you that document. Quick link for for those of you who are using Windows 10, you can now fraction your windows in two if you want to see MYLE on one half of the screen and on the left your document. So what you can do is click on the Windows button on your keyboard as well as the left arrow. Doing so, it will put the documents on the left and ask me what I want to see on the right section, which is now the MYLE application. Finally, I can, in the middle of the screen, you see change the dimension of the documents, change the zoom, for instance, and keep MYLE on the right. So it was just a quick trick if you want to see both the documents and MYLE at the same time. What is interesting also on that receive document tab is that if you want now, you can still comment, obviously, the documents. But for those of you who are doing scanning, in some cases, you were calling us at our support line because you wanted to change the class or source or description of a document for a document that had been approved by a clinician. So now a new feature is that you will be able to change the class as well as the source, so all of those fields, the document date, add a note, even though a document has been approved by the clinician. So it will be less time calling us on our support line. Again, the category on the left, this hasn't changed, so you can use them to filter your list. A new feature that is in this new MYLE and is in that tab of received documents, but also at different places, is if we go into that serrated wheel where you have the settings, now you will observe that there is a new icon that has the shape of sliders. So by clicking on this icon, you will now be able to edit the columns that you want to see. So in my case, I want to see the document date, which was not, it's an available column but not shown, so I will take it and use the arrows in the middle of the screen here in the window to bring it back. If I save, now the document date has been added. And also you can change the dimension of each of those columns by just dragging that border. So this is for the received documents. The history tab hasn't changed much. Actually, we're still showing you the list of past and future appointments on the left. What has changed is how they are displayed. So now the future appointments have a blue dot, whereas in our case, this patient has a lot of future appointments. But if you don't have that red dot, that blue dot, sorry, it's a past appointment. And if you want to filter that list, you will now use that icon. So if you want to see only the future appointments, you will click on this filter button. Actually, I will go and click on and get another patient to make sure that you understand this new feature. So we'll go with Antoine Desbois, who I know has much less future appointments. So you see two future appointments with blue dots. If I click on that filter button, now I will only see the future appointments. If I click again, I will see the entire list. So essentially, that's what's new on the history tab, because for the rest, all messages, tasks, recalls are still stored in the patient chart. It is still also possible to add different communications entries into the charts to leave a trace, and as well the history tab allows you to create new bills for the private billing aspect of your clinic. So now, last tab is the quick search tool. So again, two methods in MYLE to give appointments. We have first that tool inside the patient charts, and you have also the manual way, let's say, to book appointments, and I will quickly cover what is new on both methods. So the first one is the quick search tool. And what is new is that what you can observe is that you're you can start typing the name of the doctor on the left, so it's a click that was avoided. It's the same philosophy that was kept, so I will pick Vincent Baudry, pick a type of appointments, and let MYLE search for me all the availabilities. So now, the design has changed a bit. The available spots are a bit larger. Also, if you want to filter those results, there was before a criteria window here that now has been removed, and instead you can use the clickable text just right here. So if I want to see the availabilities in a month from now, I just need to click on that text. I want to go back to today or as soon as possible, I will click on ASAP. Another interesting feature, on Thursday, March 30th, I don't see the availabilities because I have to scroll down, they are later in the day. So to avoid having to scroll down, we have added again that filter icon on the right. So by clicking on it, what you will observe is that the time on the left has disappeared. So what we do is we bring up the screen all the available spots. So in this case, the first one is 6:30 to 7 p.m. So now again, when I'm done and I want to book the appointment, it's as before. I will click on the available spot. I can modify it if needed to add a note. I can change the state while I'm here. And finally, click on the save button in the right corner to save this appointment for my patient, Antoine Desbois. So this completes our tour of the patient chart. I will close it, and then I will be brought back to my calendar of the day. The second method for giving appointments, you know it well, it's using the calendar. So what has changed essentially is first, obviously, the month view. So let's say I want to give an appointment for Dr. Baudry in a week or in a month from now. I can go quickly to my month view and then use my blue arrows to navigate. So let's say in April, and now I see that, let's say mid-April, Dr. Baudry has a lot of availabilities. So by a simple click on the day, let's say April the 12th, I can click on the day and I will see the gray bubbles that still correspond to available spots. I can pick one, and as before, enter the name of my patient and just hit the save button to save it. So you see that month view will become really useful for you, I believe. Another interesting feature is sometimes it was asked and necessary to book, double book, and add other appointments at the same time, let's say, as this one as 5:30. How you can do that easily with the new MYLE is, if you observe the white or the blank page is now accessible on the right side of the appointment bubbles. So if I want to add quickly another appointment at 5, I just double click at 5, and then I can add the patient, Patrick Bartolo. I can, as before, specify the subject. I can change the duration of my appointment. That doesn't change, and hit the save button when I'm done. At the same time, I will be alerted of a double booking situation. I will continue, and now we'll have added quickly another appointment at 5 p.m. So this is a new feature. For the rest, it hasn't changed much aside from the stability and the speed of this new MYLE. So copy, paste, cut, those functions are still available for you to use. So now it's already I see time flying by, so I will just conclude this webinar before we go to the question section by taking the time to show the new features of the communication module as well as the document module, mostly on the scanning aspect of those. So first of all, the communication module, as you can see, we still use the notification bubble such to warn you of new unread messages, also of like tasks that are due and are late. So this hasn't changed. If I go in that communication module, so we still have the same 3 communication types. You can reach the inbox of your tasks or message or recalls by clicking on the name that corresponds to them. If you want to create a new communication item, it's the little cross on the left. So now, what's new? First, on the tasks, messages, and recalls, we have added for each of them a column, as you can see on the right, that is called action. So why we added that is because we have been told and observed on the field that you guys were exchanging a large volume of communications in often cases. So for instance, if a clinician is sending tasks to many secretaries at the same time, and the secretaries work as a team and would like to just to leave a note to a colleague to say, you know, I left a message to that patient, I haven't been able to reach the patient, but I will try again tomorrow, without having to reply to the task and again increase the volume of communication that is exchanged. So if I want to add a communication, let's take one. I have a task that is to give an appointment, a patient appointment. In that case here, if I want, first of all, the red number here tells me that there's already 2 comments that were left. If I want to add a third one, I simply click on the number. I will then see the comments that were added, and then I can add another comment. Another comment myself. If no comments were added on the task, you will see a small cross. So this is how you can add comments. So it's the same concept for messages, as you can see, and it's also the same case for the recalls. Now, on the recalls, essentially 2 interesting features. First of all, I see that in my case, I have recalls that are passed, they are read. And by the way, if I want to see the complete description, again, you can always change the dimension of columns. So in this case, I had to book an appointment in 3 weeks for Céline Momini, and I haven't done that. Or I do it, call the patients and tell her about the appointment. But I would like to reuse the same recall and just change the date of it. So I just need to do that, to click on the recall and simply change the date and put it to like 18th of May, for instance, or to another date in the future. So after that, I just need to hit the save button in the right bottom corner. So doing that, it avoids the need to recreate new recalls, but instead reuse them. So this is a new functionality that can be used. Another one is, let's say I'm managing the recalls for the clinician, Dr. Baudry. So in my case, I will just unselect all and pick the recall of Dr. Baudry. And I will see that he has a recall to book an appointment in the middle of May for the patient Melissa Barber. So now, we have improved that entire process to make it much easier for you. So in that particular situation, the thing you need to do is click on Vincent Baudry's name. That will directly open his month view. You can then easily go to the month of May. Look that at the middle of the month of May, the 15th is booked, but you have 7 spots left on the 17th. So then I can go on the 17th by 1 click. I can pick one available spot. And as you can observe, we have recorded the name of Melissa Barber, so it's already filled for you. And you just need to press save, and the appointment is given. So you see that this new feature of MYLE will, in terms of managing recalls, will save you a great deal of time, I believe. So now the documents module. So I will conclude this webinar by just show you what is the new features on the scanning aspect of it. So to add a new document to a patient chart, it is still the cross in the top left corner. Essentially what has changed is now you can observe that the cursor is already in the patient's field. So you just have to type quickly the name of the patient. So it's less click already there. So as before, you could pick a doctor, you could change a site, and if you go and specify the class, you will see that we've changed how they're presented, so it's a bit easier to go through the list. So in our case, the consultation reports by a specialist. So the source description, it's the same thing. So if I start typing, I will have keywords that will appear to me. As before, I can attach a document. And now, what is new is if you plan on scanning many documents for Dr. Maurice Richard, you can tell MYLE, please remember this field, such that when we will attach the document and attach the second one, this field will already be filled. Same thing with the description. So here, if instead you are, now it's not the doctor will change, but instead you're scanning all consultation reports of cardiology, then you can say, MYLE, please remember that field. Or you can say, MYLE, please remember both. So this is a new feature that will save you time. Finally, in some cases, you were uploading very large document and you had no clue to see if MYLE was still working on uploading those documents, or just had given up and had crashed. So now, when I will press on attach, please notice a green upload bar that will tell you that now the document has been attached. I know now this was a small document, so it was quick, but now you can trust me that feature was added. Now I'm ready to add a new document. You see the cursor is available in the patient chart. So again, no click there. I just need to type the name of the next patient. And also, as you can see, the fields responsible providers and description are the same. I have the same value as the previous document. So we believe that those changes will greatly improve your productivity on the scanning aspects. So now I will go back to my calendar. It's now 6:20. It concludes our tour.